Hello, everybody.
Okay, so are we going to have to start that over, Darius? I don't think they heard us.
Yeah, I'll start it over. Yeah.
All right, Darius, so what's on your mind today? We were just talking about how with these energy influxes, we both feel like live wires. So, Darius, how about today even? Do you have some experiences with feeling that change in your frequency?
Yeah, that, as I said last time, but we're muted, that a lot of people are starting to realize that there's another way, and it's easier for them, that the path that they were taking, they're starting to see a light at the end of the road. And I feel and I see that people now in the world are so fed up with their other beliefs in their lives and their attachments and their hopes. Their hopes that the road that they took was going to lead them to some success and some happiness. But the road that they trod was a materialistic road, but they can never find happiness within. Now I see people actually looking within themselves, and thus they're changing their external reality. They're changing the world that they see outside of themselves because they changed within. That's the only way it could be done. And I feel that people have been down a road, a very dark road, and the only reason why they stayed on that dark road is because they had hope, they had faith that there was light at the end of the tunnel. If they didn't have hope that there was light at the end of the tunnel, they would have checked themselves out of the game a long time ago. But since they're still here and they're still experiencing life, they know that something is coming, something better is coming. And what's coming is more beautiful than words could even explain. It's sometimes when I get into that state, I can't even find words to describe how I feel. Mm-hmm. People ask me, like, what do you think about the world? When people ask me that question anymore, it is so hard to come up with words to explain how I feel about the world because you can't put it into words. Well, there's so much.
Yeah, because, we could talk about the world, which would be more of the platform or the stage of the game that's still playing. That's one conversation when you are completely plugged into the matrix. And if you want to speak about it with what's on the surface in the mirror, then that's one thing. But, we are at a time now where people are having no other choice than to look within for answers because, they're certainly not finding them in their external environment. And they're seeing that just leads to more confusion, chaos, and more questions. So it really is a pinnacle time where the energy, the low vibrational energy that was sustaining ways of being in the world is no longer there supporting the framework, the grid work is no longer there, and people are having, it's either change or what,
Yeah, I know, and it's not like I said before, but we're muted. That people's perceptions are changing to the point where people's perceptions are changing so rapidly that all of a sudden now we're starting to see mermaids. We're starting to see 40-foot-long octopus in the seas in California and Florida that were showing on TV. We're starting to see dragons that still have the skin on them, the bones. We're starting to see birds that were gone for over 100 years that no one's seen. Now, why now are they starting to show themselves? All these creatures that you thought of in fairy tales, books, and movies, to not even be real, why are they showing themselves now? Or are they even showing themselves?
I think we're showing
yeah.
ourselves to them, aren't we? I think that's what's happening.
Exactly. We're showing ourselves to them because we're changing our reality. We're changing our perception of what we used to think of how this reality works. We're starting to change our perception, and we're showing ourselves to them.
Darius, do you have music in the background playing? I hear a cool beat, but I'm kind of having trouble hearing you at points.
Do you still hear it now?
I do. I hear it a bit.
That is actually my Uncle Bobby. Oh, hold on for a second. I'm going to put myself on mute, okay?
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just start chatting away here. So some of the topics we're thinking about discussing today is developing that mental awareness, which is so important at this time in the collective consciousness, where maybe your neighbors or your community or really anywhere on the planetary body, if there are looping thoughts and rampant chaotic thoughts, it's important more than ever to develop and discipline your mind, to develop a neutral witness of your thoughts. Darius, what do you think about that? Do you want to speak a little bit about developing mental awareness and some clarity?
Yeah. Could you guys still hear the little music going on in the background?
It's not so high now. It's all right.
Okay. Now you wanted me to brief up on our mental awareness or the ego, the false self, the ego?
Yeah. How are you going about disciplining your mind? Because I know for me, I'm more and more finding it easier to catch myself fall into those patterns of thought. I'm
sorry, my mic got unplugged. I'm sorry. What did you say?
I just said I know for me that I've really been working on developing techniques to really catch myself at the moment I get triggered and I fall back into a 3D fear thought pattern or something like that. And I really, really try to keep that neutral, centered, disciplined, clear mind. And I'm actually finding it easier and easier with these influxes of energy. It's more about it's black or white. You are either in the fog or you are clear and connected. How about you? What are you feeling?
That's something that I feel that a lot of people have trouble with, even sometimes myself, when I'm in a situation and I'm in that just a lot of people could relate with me when you're at ease with yourself and you're in your comfortable state. Either if you're inside your house and you're meditating, or you're just yourself, you're relaxed, you're happy, and then all of a sudden someone walks in your door, or you go over to a friend's house, or you go outside, and then all these people's negative energy sort of like just rubs on your skin, and you're sort of like it just drains you. What I feel and what I experiment with is when that happens, try to create a bubble around yourself. Whether if it's breathing in or out, create a bubble outside yourself, almost like a shield. And you'll find more and more, the more you do that, you'll find that all these energies will never influence you ever again. They won't be able to influence you anymore. The rubbing off on the skin, the pulling the hair, just that irritating energy that sometimes crawls up your spine. If you sit down and you relax like you were in your house or wherever your comfortable spot is, if you get that energy back, which you could, because it's inside of you, that's where it came from. It didn't come from outside of you. Your relaxation, your peace didn't come from somewhere outside of you. It came within you. So if your whole time that you're going about your day, if you could keep that state, then there would be no negative energy rubbing off on you.
Yeah, I find life is such an inside job, and I know more than ever as we move into these times, it's really developing that state of inner peace and serenity, no matter what your external environment is doing, because it's important to lay that foundation of your own boundary and your own self-sustainability in those situations. So, when you're in a situation and you might be triggered or you feel like someone is being, not to judge it as non-judgment, but you discern their energetic presence. And I'm finding it really, what's helped me a lot is instead of telling myself a story in my mind about why I'm reacting or feeling a certain way towards someone, instead what I do is I just try to feel my feelings fully and be with myself unconditionally. And when you can, you don't restrict your muscles, you don't block the energy flow, and when you feel your feelings fully, then I feel like, for me at least, it's easier to hold my space of the present moment, even when I'm with other people who may not have developed their own inner state of peace. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, because when people, what you need to understand is you can't place limits on yourself. The moment you say I can't, well, you can't do it, because you just placed that limit on yourself. You just created that reality, because you need to understand that ye are gods. You are a God experiencing this reality. You are the eternal essence. It's that simple. You are the eternal essence. So when you say you can't, that's the second you say that, that's when you can't do something, no matter what it is. And being in your state, your peaceful state, if you say, well, I can't do that because of the such and such and such, the moment you say that is the moment that you can't do it, because you're capable of doing anything.
Yeah, I think that's a good point that you touched on there, of owning. It's really about owning your own power, and kind of stepping into your truth, and choosing to be your own authority. Now, saying that, your own authority, or that point of focus, that point of focus that you direct your energy, you direct your free will, that point of focus is also an expression of the one. So, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
That is correct.
So when you're saying, when we thrive, or when we try to go from, basically what we're talking about is going from doing from reacting to situations, or from looking outside of yourself to come to a place of being, where no matter, wherever you go, there you are. And if you can be in harmony with yourself, then you will automatically be in harmony with, your surroundings as well.
Yeah, everything around you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something, it's going to touch base with the whole concept of relationships. When you're at peace with yourself, okay, the only way you can love others, and love no matter what it is, the only way if you want to love a bird, if you want to love a dog, a person, a cat, your phone, a computer, if you want to love anything, you first have to love yourself. So if you're not at peace with yourself, and if you're not in love with who you are, it's impossible for you to love anybody else.
I agree, and that's really been a learning curve for me, because I know, we are born into this world, and we don't really learn the rules of the game, and we're kind of just pushed in, and we're trying to find, become something that will answer all our questions, and we look outside of ourselves for love and for happiness and for all those things that we're told is fulfillment. And when you begin to wake up and understand that you already are everything you've been looking for, and it's just owning that and anchoring that into this reality now, letting go of those blockages that you have been conditioned to put up on yourself. But I know, exactly. I feel really uncomfortable sometimes. I don't even know how to hold this much joy and this much love. How about you? Like, it's such a new experience for me, at least.
Yeah, it's like sometimes I just want to go up to my friends, and sometimes I just want to hug them. You know what I mean? But like, they'll be like, oh well, that's why are you hugging me? Like a guy hugging another guy, like that is gay. And I'm like, why are you so closed-minded? Like, it's just showing love. It's connecting. That's all it's doing. And whether gay, straight, or whatever, it doesn't matter. People need to learn how to exchange their love and not be so closed off, or such in a box. Like I find it so simple when someone wants to love someone else and they're afraid of what people think about them. They're placing themselves in a box of limitations when simply you could just be yourself and just go up to that person, give them a hug, no matter what they think, just show them love and comfort them and tell them it's okay. Because a lot of people, in the way they've been ever since they were born, like you said, it's almost like we've been pushed into this life and not even learning the rules of the game, sort of like just pushed in.
Mm-hmm.
If you give people the space to feel comfortable, then they'll start to listen.
Darius, I'm just going to put you on hold for 2 seconds there. I just want to let you guys know that the chat log is open on the blog Talk website in the chat room at Blog Talk. As well, if anyone that's called in wants to speak at any time, just raise your hand and we'll get you in on the conversation. So yeah, what you were saying, Darius, about I think that deep down inside, so many of us here on the planet, we don't know that we deserve to be loved. I think that's a big one. We don't know that we deserve it and we are it, and it is possible. And because what we've done since we were little, the only thing we could do is put up those walls and those boundaries to protect ourselves. And those boundaries and those walls and that protection, played its role, but it's now learning to take them down, and put the trust in yourself to shine your light, and that's a new thing.
Yes, it is. It's definitely a new thing because people are going to start to realize, as I realized, that being comfortable with yourself and allowing people to be comfortable with you is the only way that they are going to basically express themselves, who they really are. And I call it raw emotion. When for instance, when you're making love, okay, it's the raw emotion that gets you triggered. It's the raw emotion in the person because they're letting go. They're opening up. They're letting you see all their hopes and dreams, their fears, and that's truly being naked. That is raw emotion. And I feel if people don't second guess themselves and say, oh, maybe I should, what would he think? Oh, Bob, Bill, if people stop thinking like that and they're in the raw emotion, then you'll see that people will start to feel more comfortable around that person. So if you're trying to make someone comfortable with you or have them step out of the box, first you have to make them feel comfortable. And when they're comfortable, then you'll start to see the raw emotion, that baby state quality, where loving is a natural thing that we do. Now, loving is a natural thing that we do, but it's almost like we put a label on it, like to love this way. To have a wife, you have to love this way, and you have to do this, and you have to do that. You have to take her out somewhere. You have to do the work. As a man, you are the dominancy, and you have to protect her at all costs. It's all the limits and all the rules that we place upon love that makes it makes it not love anymore. It makes it an attachment.
Condition.
An attachment,
mm-hmm.
A condition, an attachment, and an attachment is not love. And I like using this because I actually experienced this. It is okay to love more than one person, whether if you're in a relationship or not, because I found that when I seen somebody and I met them for the very first time, I fell in love with them instantly. And automatically I knew that, the whole way of relationships and how they're set and how they believe to be is totally thrown out the door, because if you put conditions on love, you can never love anybody ever. You can't love them the way that you want to if you're putting conditions on your own love. And you should be able to love everybody on the planet because everybody is you. Everybody is internal essence. Everyone is connected. Everybody is one. So you should be able to love everybody on the world because everybody is in fact yourself, a reflection of yourself.
Yeah, I find it, for me at least, it's a balancing act between holding holding the love inside for myself and holding my light and my boundary. And as I hold that for myself, I hold it for the rest of humanity. And it's also, I think it's important to truly, get in touch with your subconscious, your emotion, your your suppressed emotions, the things that we have swept under the rug. And as we take a look at our own inner shadow, we no longer have to project that inner shadow onto others. Because I know for myself at least, I find that when I reach out to others sometimes for love, it's more of a codependent love, because then I realize that there's something inside myself that I haven't taken a look at. So it is really making sure that we put ourselves first, and as we do that, we put everyone else exactly the way they need to be as well.
Exactly. Everybody has to be in their energy. Mm-hmm. And this is what I feel. What I think that Atlantean people used to do when they used to try to change the world, shift poles, or move objects with their brain. I think that they connected with each other in a loving frequency and in a loving state, and they were able to connect with each other in that raw emotion. That when their brains came together and all their emotions and they connected with love, that they were able to accomplish anything. Because you feel you can see it when you're having a bad day. What do you lack when you're having a bad day? You lack love, because it's either you're in fear, you're in hatred, you hate something. When you're having a bad day, it's usually because you're mad at something or you lack something. And what does hate come from? What's the opposite of hate? The opposite of hate is love. So when you're having a bad day, all you're lacking is love. So when you could go in the raw state, in that state of mind where, okay, well, nothing's bad, everything is love. In fact, the bird that just flew past me is love. I could love everything if I try. But if you're not trying to love anything, you're like, oh, well, I don't care, because that's not normal. How could you love a bird? How could you love a cat?
Yeah, but I think the first step is when you do the emotional work, and when you sit with yourself and you really get in to understand your childhood and things that you are holding on to. And because, I know that the most important, or, the most, the developmental phase in childhood from 0 to 7, that's where most of our emotional, emotional depth comes from, or that's how we develop on those. When we're just in our sensory phase, we're not really talking that much, and we're just kind of feeling the world, right? And when we manifest relationships and we go about our adult life, and with those emotional charges, you could say, that we haven't processed from when we were young, then we bring those charges into our relationships, and they keep playing out in our lives until we take a look at them. Because it's all about being in the moment and letting yourself feel the moment, processing it, and then moving on to the next moment. So it's about not so attached to others, but being intimate enough with yourself that you can just simply share yourself with someone else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I know what you mean, because with my girlfriend that I'm with, I do aura reading, and I'm very empathic. So what me and my girlfriend do sometimes is I'll look at her and I'll see her aura. You guys must know what auras are. It's the energy outside the body. But I see her aura all the time, and I look at her and I'll practice. We'll practice on each other, and we'll see it. And then for the first time, I tried something different. I said, okay, we love each other. Okay, we're gonna be in that total raw emotion state. And I said, now look in my eyes, and I'll look in your eyes, and we won't stop this connection. We'll just keep on staring. And as we stared, I stared in her eyes for about 25 minutes. Now, I was trying to, I don't know what I was trying to do, but I was trying to see what was different. Am I going to see an aura, or am I going to see, I didn't know what I was going to see. But what happened in the 25 minutes of direct eye contact is that the whole room, basically, the whole room came to me. If the whole room came forward, and she flew back about, she was like 20 feet away from me. It looked like it. And she flew back as the room came forward. And as I was in the state, I stayed there for a little longer, and she was experiencing the same thing. And we looked deeper, and we started to see that the room was starting to change colors, almost like an X-ray vision. And then she was starting to become darker, and her face started to change in her body. And all of a sudden, I'm like, well, what else is going to happen? And then she disappeared. And I was able to see the wall behind her. And I said, and I snapped out of it. And I'm like, oh, my God. And she was like, what, Darius? I said, I just seen behind you. And then we put a number behind her head, and we switched places. And we took a piece of paper, and we took a marker. And the number was 13. So my sister, Shalay, she wrote the number 13 on a piece of paper and stuck it behind her head. And we went to that same state, a good 25 minutes of staring intensely. I went back into the state. Now, I had no clue what the number was because I was turned around. And I was looking at her, and then the same thing happened again. The room came forward. She went back, X-ray vision, and then she started to, she almost had like a flow of energy all around her body that was constantly just like water. Mm-hmm. And then she disappeared, and I was able to see the door behind her. And the number said 13, and I snapped out of it, and I said, it's a number 13. And she's like, oh, my God. I'm like, it's just unreal what you could do with the power of love. You could do anything. You could accomplish anything. And it's when you're in that state where you could actually see through your partner, the physical self, and look through her or look through him and see the deeper self of who they are, there's really no words. When you reach that state, there's really no words to describe it, because eye contact is so important to the point where you could walk down the street right now, and if you look in someone's eyes, they'll look away. Why will they look away? Because they feel uncomfortable, because they don't want you to see who they are. Because in the eyes, you're able to see everything. So next time you're with your spouse or your friend, and you really want to get to see who that person is and read them and be empathic and feel who they are, look into their eyes and tell me what you feel from that person. You could do it to such an extent where when I was with my girlfriend and we were looking into each other's eyes, I said, okay, now send me an image of what you want to look like. Send me an image of how beautiful you want to look like. And when she did it, I seen that she had long hair, went down to her shoulders, and she had bangs that crossed her eyes, and she was wearing a different outfit, and she had a little bit of waves on her hair, like a little beach curl. Her face changed. Everything changed. And I stopped and I said, okay, you want your hair to be this long, a little wavy, wearing this clothes and this, your face look like this. And she was like, that's what I want to look like. When you could have eye contact and look at somebody for so long and have that intense love, you could start to project images and thoughts of how who you are inside, because I seen not what she wanted to become, but who she was. Because the image that she showed me is who she is inside. And a lot of people look at the physical, they say, okay, well, that's just Bob. You know, he's skinny, he's fat, he's muscular, he's small, he's tiny, you know, and they only look at the outer projection, the physical body that's just made of energy. But when you can look past that and look through other dimensions and other frequencies, you can start to see who the person really is. That's why people say, you know, beauty is in the inside. not on the outside, because beauty is on the inside.
Yeah, I think that, the eyes hold a lot of truth. That is the window into the soul. And I always know when I'm in a conversation or conversing with anyone, and we're both able to hold that mutual focus in each other's eyes. I always find that, you connect on a deeper level in those moments where you're really open enough to share yourselves with the other person. And I know what you mean about kind of looking into other dimensions, or kind of seeing things that we don't normally see before. Because, especially right now on the planet, you could say the veil is so thin between, what is and what isn't, or whatever you'd like to call it. And I know for me, a lot of the time, after deep meditations, it's just like my perception of the world, the vibrations, the subtle frequencies and colors and everything. It's kind of like you're even wearing a different lens. Like you're wearing a different sunglasses for some moments where you're looking. It feels like you're kind of looking out of new eyes. Is that what you'd say?
Yeah, like you're looking through. It's almost like your new set of eyes. Like you've been given new eyes, which could be, in a sense, you're just opening up your third eye, because you do have three eyes, the pineal gland.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people forget about that. A lot of people forget about their pineal gland, and if they open that up, then they're able to see in different realities. That's how you're able to see auras, because you're using your pineal gland to shift your reality. You're using that chakra, people would call it, the third eye, which is right above your throat chakra. You're using that energy to see a different reality, a different frequency.
Darius, we have a caller here. Do you want to take? We're going to take 618. Let's say hello to them. Let's see if this works. Hello, 618.
Hello.
How you doing? Who's calling?
This is Kenneth.
Kenneth?
Yes.
How you doing, Kenneth?
How you doing?
Good. I've just been listening in, and I've had that similar experience of seeing through the veil, and I just wanted to add to the conversation. When we experience seeing through the veil, it can also bring up, fears of seeing something that is not supposed to be in our world at the time, so we might see otherworldly things, like something that was supposed to exist in another timeline or in another planet or another dimension, I would say. So I had one question. Have you ever noticed that once we get into that shifting or experiencing the pineal gland opening more often, that you also notice you experience more people attract to you in a sense that they know what you they know what you need, in a sense.
I find when you do begin to open up some of your chakras in your body, your energy centers, and the pineal gland is one of those energy centers. Basically, you begin to hold more light in your body, your light body. Parts of yourself start to come online. So automatically, as you begin to hold that higher frequency and that vibration, then your environment will react to that. So I find if you're saying that when you are in those phases of shift and you see a fear or something, I really think it's important to develop grounding exercises so you can so you can bring your energy field and your vibration close to your body and ground it down. So you're not floating around anywhere when any kind of entity or being who wants to be an intermediary between you and source. Does that make sense?
Right.
I have something to add to that, Matthew.
Yeah.
The reason why people are attracted to people, they sort of come into your life, that people are awakened, is because I'm going to use a scenario with winter and summer. Okay, we'll use winter as someone that is closed-minded and closed off with their energy. When someone is closed off, they're very cold because they only think a certain way. So people aren't attracted to the cold weather. People don't want to go outside and like wear shorts and relax and you know just lay out in the snow. People don't want to do that because they get cold and they want to go by the heat. And when summer is going to be someone that's open. So when you have someone that's open and awakened, it's almost like the hot sun where people want to be around it. They feel so comfortable and they want to go out and they want to sit down, they want to relax by the beach, and just be themselves. Because when you have someone that is closed, like the winter, and it's very cold, you don't see a lot of people always outside and relaxing and enjoying themselves. I mean, maybe you may see people like throwing snowballs, but in the cold weather, like -11, you don't see people outside relaxing and being like, oh, my God, I love this weather. I want it to come all the time, You hear people saying, oh, when is the summer going to come? I want to go to the beach. I want to go swimming because it's warm, So when you're awakened and you hold that high vibration, people are going to be attracted to you because they're comfortable with that. That's what people thrive for. They thrive for that feeling of peace.
But also, Kenneth, I think it is very important. I'm going to emphasize this again, to put your intention out to be in service of your highest power and the very highest good. And put your intention out that, my declaration of intention is to serve my source. You don't want to be, obviously you have free will and do exactly what you'd like to do, but as the veil does get thinner, entities and other forms of being are going to be around. So it's just important to make sure that you're connecting with your source and not some intermediary with their own agenda, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Right.
I've been visited by them while I was sleeping, and the light that I hold is unmatched by whatever technology they bring against me. That's one thing I can say.
Just Kenneth, I think all you got to do is be in your joy. Be in your joy. Hold the love for yourself and the planet, and that will always be enough.
Okay. Thank you. I'll go back on hold.
All right, Kenneth. Thank you so much for calling in. And laugh at them. And laugh at them. My fairy godmother saying laugh at them. All right, thank you, Kenneth.
All right, bye-bye.
Any more comments on that, Darius?
Yeah, it's just I feel like with the attraction when people are open. I honestly feel when you're open and you're awakened and your energy is just you're just in that raw emotion. Your energy's there. You're powerful, and you just feel good. You're at peace. I feel that people are more attracted to that, like the hot summer, because people aren't used to seeing that. People are used to seeing the cold, the negative, that aspect of life where people aren't really at peace with themselves. They're always rushing to get to work, or they're stressed and they're like they honk your horn if you're driving too slow, and that's like that winter feeling, that cold energy. And when you have people that are just like relax, everything's going to be okay. It's almost like people are like, well, how do you know? And then they try to, they try to they try to understand, and they're like, okay, well, teach me. And then they want to learn, and then they start to learn for themselves, and then they start to open their minds, because no one can teach you to see. You have to see for yourself. It's only giving you information, like saying, okay, well, you could try it this way, but there's no set way on how to see or how to awaken, or how to be at peace. There's no specific way, because my way could be different the way that you do it, Matthew, and your way could be different the way that Lisa does it, and Lisa's way could be different the way than Bob does it. We all come at peace at different ways. You may meditate. Sometimes I just go out in nature and just move my hands and pretend that I'm making everything move around me. Everybody's different, but whatever it is, if it's listening to music, if it's laying down, playing the guitar, listening, like going for a car ride, whatever it is that brings you at peace, do more of that and do less of what gives you negativity.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree, and I really think that, on a universal standpoint, just the mind discipline is so important, because we are creating our reality with our thoughts and with our focus. We are directing our consciousness in every second, every moment of the day, and the more you discipline your mind, let go of negative programming that you're holding on to, and you start to connect with that higher self, and you anchor those energies into your body, and you hold a larger space of presence, automatically well-being increases, your inner state of peace increases. But I do think it's super important to just stress the always connecting with the highest good and the highest power, for sure.
Yeah, it's almost like doing that is almost like a full-time job, but it's not like a job like you would think of. It's more of like, oh my God, I can't wait, because I think some people they want to be able to do telepath, or they want to be empathic, or they want to learn how to project their energy, read auras, but they don't put the effort to do it. They're not actually doing it. They're just wanting it, and they're expecting it to come to them. What you manifest your reality. Whatever you think of will come into your reality. But it's almost like, for instance, you have a plant outside. You could pray and pray for rain, but you could also get a cup of water, fill it up with glass, and pour it on it, and then it will grow. It's all you could wait. You could wait and wait and wait, or you could just do, because you could go out on the sidewalk and hold out your hand and wait for $100. But if no one knows what you're asking for, they're not going to give you $100 unless you say, "Listen, I need some help." When you put that drive forward and you actually do, then you'll see that your reality dances with you, like the way you feel, the way you are. Just your physical body, you have a physical body for a reason. And all the functions that come with it are here for a reason. It's to play the game. And if you're not using your functions, get up and walk or do something, it's not going to happen unless you put that full attention into it.
Yeah, I really think that connecting with your own heart space is so important. And, when you are trying to, everything that we're talking about is really getting to know thyself, or getting to be. It's taking the steps to be who we really are. That's really what we're talking about. So when and where does that come from? The knowing and the all the manifestation and all those things. It comes from your energetic blueprint, your connection to all that is, your unique expression of the whole. So the more that you get in touch with your own heart space, the contents of yourself, take a look at why is this relationship here in my life? Why do I have these kind of behaviors? always taking it from a place of non-judgment, from a place of neutrality. And when you look at your life that way, you begin to understand that you are the one to make changes to that life. And when you say, I won't hurt myself anymore, then it's done because you said so. And you are your highest authority creating your life. You know, and I think it's coming to the understanding of that you don't need to suffer, and you don't need to put yourself in those
it's funny because when people had enough, and they're at the point in their life, they're at the end of the road where they say, if I do this one more time, I'm going to kill myself. When you're at that state where you would rather do anything else, when you're at that stage where you're like, you know what, I don't care what happens anymore, I'm done with it, I do not care. When you're at that point in your life, you become the most powerful person in the world, because now you have no attachment, you have no fears, you have no hope. You're just in the now. And in the now is the most powerful state you could be in, the now moment. And
well, I agree, but I also think there's a difference between a state of hopelessness, numbness, a low vibration of, you know, nowness, and then coming from the state of, you know, the conceptualized self and really truly identifying with your story, to coming from a place of now, present moment, of the actualized self connected to all things. Do we want to speak a little bit about the difference between the conceptual self to the self-actualized?
Yeah, go
ahead. So I don't know when you were speaking about when you're kind of down on your luck and you're feeling like you have no hope, or those kind of things. I don't know if I would call that a point of power. I think that's a really good place for having a dramatic shift in your awareness and your consciousness to kind of step back into your power and take a look at those habits that have kind of brought you down to that state of being. But I do think that when we want to create and when we want to use these abilities and things like that it should be coming from a place of connection with the whole. Would you agree?
Yeah, I do agree.
What else did you want to talk about, Darius? We only have about less than 5 minutes left.
Oh, see, I didn't even realize the time when I'm speaking, and I'm just so into the conversation, I don't even realize the time. It happens all the time. Every show that I do, I'm right in focus with it, and then like I look, I'm like, oh wow, we're 5 minutes left. But
okay.
Do we have any more callers, or?
Yeah, any more callers that want to call in and have anything to say about today's discussion? Anyone want to call in? No, I know what I've been doing a lot, Darius, is, I don't know if you've done this, but holding a gratitude list, a list of things that I'm grateful for and that I feel thankfulness and love towards in my heart. And I feel like the more that I write them down on paper and I really, get into my heart space of gratitude, I feel like the more I put that energy out, the more I can feel that energy more often. Have you had experiences with like that?
Yeah. It's almost like you write it down on a piece of paper, whatever you feel or whatever you want. Like the more that you see it, what brings you happiness, or the more that what you see that you want to achieve, the more that you write it down, or the more that you keep on talking about it and talking and saying and thinking about it, the more happier you become, because you're no longer thinking about well, what do I have to do tomorrow, and I have to get this, I have to get food. You're no longer thinking about all the things that bring you stress. when you write things down like that and you're thinking about it all the time, you're only thinking about the things that bring you joy, and you start to become you're in that state. You're just like, oh my God, I'm so happy. And then you'll have people that are like, oh my God, I'm so down, because they're not in the state that brings them joy. They're not in their own energy.
Yeah, I think it's really like, I feel like it's really reprogramming your thoughts and your habits. We can get out of the victim perpetrator mindset, as, I'm no good, or they're no good, or I don't have this, and really thinking in scarcity and thinking in lack and those kind of thoughts. And when you can shift it to the reality that you are literally unlimited, infinite love and abundance and intelligence, you begin to shift your thought patterns and therefore shift your consciousness into a new reality where you hold love for yourself and you hold love for others. And that's just a game changer when you can have the awareness of those thoughts and just let them go, when you have those negative thoughts and you can see them and you don't need to give the energy to them.
Yeah, and it is definitely an unprogramming of our minds, because, my God, like we really, for people that were growing up in a house where people are already awakened, like your parents, like your parents are already teaching you this at a young stage. When people don't have that by them, and they have people teaching them the way the world is now, like when you start to come and you start to get this information, it's like a whole different life. And it's like, oh my God, well now I got to start, deprogramming in my mind, and it's a big shift that happens in your life. It's a big shift that happens.
Yeah, and I really feel like just automatically once you start feeling better about yourself, you automatically want to help others, feel it too. And that's what's so beautiful about, shifting into this new paradigm, that we're really all here as one, and we're all helping each other out and helping each other shift peacefully into this, incredible new time. I'm so excited. I don't know about you.
I want to say something before we get off. Yeah. It's like we want to help people so bad, but we need to understand at the same time, we cannot when somebody isn't ready to hear something. I used this scenario before. You can't feed a baby steak because it won't be able to eat it. You have to do it baby steps.
You're right. Silence says a lot. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you, everybody.